the fact is that the high production steers have much lower greenhouse production, gas production, than the happy farms and the developing nations. Because one of the things that we've shown is that when you supplement grass with a little bit of grain, the methane per day goes down. But the other thing that happens is something called maintenance energy, which is a somewhat more difficult concept, but I like to try to tackle it, which is that when we eat as humans, our goal most of the time is to just stay at the same weight. So we eat a tremendous amount of food. Think about what you ate in the last week or the last month or the last year. And most of us have the goal of keeping our weight. Few of us need to lose some of that weight.
Or gain some. Yeah.
Very few of us are lucky enough to need to gain weight.
Right.
But what we eat is our maintenance. Animals have the same thing. So if they are more productive, the percentage that's maintenance goes down. So, and if you get the animal to slaughter weight faster, it's fewer days of maintenance. So if you supplement even out in the fields, out in the hills of Colorado, and where they're raising the animals, pretty open, loose, lots of land. But if they were to be grain supplemented, and by grains I mean byproduct grains, one, they would grow faster so that they would have fewer days on maintenance. And two, each day that they are alive, they're giving off less methane. So again, U.S. agriculture, U.S. animal agriculture, on a U.S. basis is contributing a very small amount of our greenhouse gases. When you go to the global picture, particularly in those countries where animals serve as a bank, in many developing countries, people keep the animals as a resource, and they're really keeping them with minimum productivity. They're keeping slaughter animals alive at maintenance. So they're feeding these animals for sometimes a year or two, and they're not growing, they're just eating food. And so that then generates a tremendous amount of greenhouse gases, uses a tremendous amount of resources.
So when we look at the UN report, Livestock's Long Shadow, and they say something like 18%, or in any case, a figure that is apparently larger than the transportation sector, of greenhouse gases are contributed by the agriculture sector, you're going to say, well, that's not our efficient group of people mostly. Right. That's the global, doing it in the more kind of happy meat Michael Pollan model.
It's not really even a Michael Pollan model. It's a poverty model. Okay. But the fact is that FAO report, even the FAO now admits, was not comparing apples and apples. First of all, the figure is probably distorted on a global basis, but they actually did a life cycle analysis on agriculture, and on transportation they just took fuel usage for the final vehicles and didn't put any of the calculations for the vehicle. So that report is significantly off. The figure for the U.S. is the same 18% number drops in the U.S. context to 3%. So 3% of our greenhouse gases are coming from animal agriculture.
Of all kinds.
Of all kinds, the whole range, and another 3% from plant agriculture. And again, some of that plant agriculture, maybe you should account it to the animals. You can play with the bookkeeping, but overall agriculture, our entire food supply, including some of the transportation, is 6%.